What's up, guys? Keyshawn Uchia here, back at you with another part to an Alternate Universe video, or you could say another redo of an Alternate Universe video. Now, this will be part one of what if Naruto had a yandere dojutsu and was black. Why do I want to redo this? Well, first of all, the first one, like I said, I did pretty old videos, and half of them was pretty just But y'all did like them, y'all enjoyed them. But I wanted to do something that was something unique, something good, something that will make you say, this is more interesting and this is more spicy. Now, this is going to be part one and two, and hell, yeah, part one and two and three, because I like to pull the avatar and disappear for a whole month or a week, maybe 2 weeks. But this will be pretty much part one, two, and three of what if Naruto had a yandere dojutsu and was black. Now, for other ado, let's get this started. Now, pretty much we start off as the same. We're gonna start off with the whole Nine Tails attack. Do a little bit skip off. Well, no, we're gonna hold off on that, and we're gonna start with Minato. Now, Minato pretty much had a generic where you can pretty much he had a pigmentation where only some Uzumakis had this pigmentation where it pretty much turned you black, and it's only where you can see where you can turn black. Well, it's very rare. It's like 1% where you turn black. Now, half of those times. Sorry about that, but let's continue. Pretty much, this is where you have like 1% chance of turning black. So Minato has that mutation where he turns black. So pretty much, this is where um, Minato has it, but he haven't turned black. So yeah, and Kushina doesn't have it, but it's only rare. So this is where Naruto pretty much is well, not Naruto. This is where Minato pretty much becomes Hokage, and everybody happens the same. And he does have the dojutsu of the um, yandere quirk. I mean dojutsu. But pretty much his dojutsu haven't activated, but he has the genetics traits to do it, to pretty much pass it down. But pretty much everything happens the same, and we're just gonna go to the Nine Tails attack now. Pretty much the Nine Tails attack happens as the same. Pretty much Minato, not Minato. Minato fights with Obito, the masked man. Pretty much fighting him, defeats him as the same way. But this is where I'm gonna say he has a little bit more chakra. Now, this is where Naruto, well, not Naruto, Minato. Sorry. This is where Minato pretty much uses the remaining of his chakra to use the Reaper's Death Seal and pretty much seals the Nine Tails away completely, like the full Nine Tails set in Naruto. Now, this is where Minato gives him a little bit of a chakra boost to make sure Naruto won't like die or have the Nine Tails break out. So the seal is completely sealed and proper. But this is where I'm gonna say since Minato gave Naruto a little bit of extra chakra, this is where Naruto pigmentation comes in and begins to turn Naruto completely black, like making him 100% that nigga. So yeah, so he turns black, his hair turns black, yeah, and I'm not talking Naruto basically look like this but with black hair. This is where Naruto's crying, and Minato looks at his child and says, and Kushina's saying, "This is our baby boy," which she wants to see, and she pretty much says he looks beautiful, and she pretty much is like slowly conscious, like passing away, and but before she goes, she pretty much gives her chakra to Naruto, giving him the chakra chains, and dies. This is where Minato, before he dies, he pretty much is sad that he can't see his son grow up and, teach him many things and stuff. But he pretty much puts himself inside Naruto. Puts himself inside Naruto. This not as like his spirit, but like his memory of learning the flying Raijin. So Naruto can learn it, or the flying thunder god, you could say. Now, this is where Minato dies off, and Naruto begins to open up his eyes, and he has the yandere dojutsu already active. So this is where Hiruzen comes, and he sees the whole like place and stuff, and what the hell happened and everything. And this is where he sees Naruto. Now, this is where he sees Naruto, and he gets caught by the trans action and become Naruto, pretty much one of Naruto's servants, or pretty much get caught by the dojutsu of the yandere. Now, after that, this is where everything happens as the same, but this is going to be still the same than the original of the part one that I did. Everything happens the same with the whole Orochimaru becoming Hokage and stuff. So if you didn't watch that one, you should pretty much watch it so you can understand what I'm talking about. But this is where we skip on and we start with like a 13-year-old Naruto. Now, this 13-year-old Naruto is pretty much this 13-year-old Naruto is pretty much liked around the village. Like, how can I say this? Like, he's really liked around the whole village, as people like Naruto and they don't hate him. Like, he has pretty much the whole village under his fingertip, up down to the Uchiha, up to the clans, all the way to just regular town folks. So everybody likes Naruto. Everybody wants to be his friend. Everybody just loves Naruto. Which Naruto doesn't like get hated upon because, like I said, he got everybody caught under his eye. So we're just gonna continue. But pretty much we're starting with Naruto, and he's pretty much just in his house eating ramen noodle. Well, pretty much sleeping until he hears the alarm and realizes that he's late for class. This is where he starts running and stuff. And as he's running, he pretty much makes it in class a little bit late, but Aruka says that you're late, Naruto, which Naruto says he's sorry he woke up late, but Aruka says it's okay and just take his seat, which all the girls are like looking at Naruto and blushing and giggling and stuff, which Naruto is, smiling at them, well, making a little grin and takes a seat. This is where he sees Sasuke, and yeah, and this Sasuke is the same as original Ken, but the only person he talks to is Naruto. Which this is where Naruto says good morning to Sasuke, which Sasuke says good morning, and they um pretty much do their class. Now, this is where they start doing the training thing, and this is where Naruto and Sasuke starts to fight with each other. Now, this is where Aruka says, "Get ready, set, fight." And this is where Naruto gets into a fighting stance and charges at Sasuke. This is where Sasuke charges at Naruto and then begins to start fighting. Now, Sasuke is kind of holding back because, like I said, Naruto got everybody caught in the yandere and jutsu, so Sasuke doesn't want to hurt Naruto or hurt his face or anything. But Naruto yells at Sasuke and says, "Are you pinning me right now and just giving me light attacks? You better give me all your strength." Which this is where Sasuke says, "All right, if you say so," and they start charging at each other. Now, of course, Naruto loses this because, well, no, Naruto pretty much wins this fight because Sasuke makes himself lose to Naruto. Now, this is where Naruto pretty much can tell that Sasuke kind of was like holding back, and he picks up Sasuke and tells him next time don't hold back and give it his all. Which Sasuke is a little bit blushing and says yeah and looks away. Now, this is where Naruto pretty much is, which all the girls are pretty much cheering on Sasuke and Naruto, saying, "Yeah, you did great." And especially the girls are saying, "Oh my god, Naruto, you you kicked his ass. You did so good. Oh my god, that's why you're the best." Which Naruto is like saying, yeah. And he begins to start heading. Now, this is where the 18SS is gonna come in, and this is where Naruto dojutsu begins to evolve a little bit more, and he begins to start feeling the full effects in power and strength. Now, this is where he starts getting stronger, but also he starts to get more horny and sex and more and thirsting for sex. This is where he's looking around and stuff, and he's pretty much holding a wall and saying, "What is wrong with me?" Which this is where Hinata sees Naruto pretty much is like walking all slow and holding the wall, and she pretty much runs up to walks to him and asks if he's alright, which Naruto um pretty much asks Hinata to take him home, and she pretty much agrees and start taking him home. Now, this is where Naruto is like holding on to Hinata very close, and she's very like blushing up to like her face is hot to like red to a tomato, but she's pretty much taking him home. This is where they pretty much head to the house, and Naruto is in his house, and he begins to take off his shirt, and his body is, you could say, is ripped, and she's pretty much blushing real hard. This is where Naruto asks her, can she get him a glass of water, which she pretty much does, and he starts drinking. He feels a little better, but this is where he starts looking at Hinata, and he begins to start asking her, can he pretty much have sex with her? Which pretty much she's blushing and saying, "You mean sex?" Which Naruto says, "Yes." And he pretty much walks up to her and begins to make out with her. Now, this is where Hinata doesn't push him away or anything because she has a crush on him because he did save her from the bullies. So, yeah. This is where she pretty much embraces him and they begins to start heading to the bed. Now, I'm going to go into spicy details, so this is a warning. If you're a kid, please get the F out the kitchen. Get the fuck out the kitchen because shit is going to get spicy. I'm serious. This is going to get so spicy that y'all going to be like, damn, he really went in detail of the spicy shit. But other than that, let's get started. Pretty much after that, this is where um Naruto starts making out with Hinata, and he begins to go down and pulling out her pants and panties and begins to start eating out that pussy. Now, as he's eating out the pussy, she begins to says she's coming, and she pretty much comes all over his face. Now, this is where Naruto begins to takes off his pants and pretty much shows his penis, and pretty much says that he's going to stick it in. Now, this is where he slowly sticks it in, but truly he goes a little bit more faster, and hits pretty much goes in the vagina. Now, Hinata is a virgin because 13-year-old virgin, and she begins to starts to bleed. This is where Naruto realized that, and it looks at Hinata and says, "Are you a virgin?" Which pretty much, she says, "Yeah." Which Naruto says, "Ha, the more the better." And he begins to start going in and out. Now, he's pushing forward and stuff, and they begin to start switching positions and stuff. And Naruto begins to grab her tits, grab her boobs and stuff, and begins to squeeze them and stuff, and making her wet more and stuff. Because if Naruto got someone under his game, well, under his you could say hypnotized, he can pretty much alter their body and make them feel much more higher pleasure than usual. So Naruto's pretty much going in and out and stuff, and he switched to another position and stuff. Now, this is where Naruto is pretty much sucking her boobs and stuff, and she's pretty much is moaning and loving the pleasure. This is where Naruto pretty much done bust a nut in there in the vagina, and he pretty much lays in the bed with Hinata. Now, as he's laying in the bed with Hinata, this is where, like I said before, in the other video, Hinata got a power boost from it. Now, pretty much this is where Naruto is sleeping with Hinata pretty much that day. Well, that day you could say. Now the next day, Naruto wakes up and he pretty much is getting dressed and stuff. And Hinata is pretty much getting dressed and stuff. And this is where Hinata begins to leave, and Naruto tells her bye. This is where Hinata turns around and starts to make out with Naruto. And I'm gonna say one of the Hyugas was looking for Hinata, and they see her at Naruto's place. Now, this is where she pretty much says goodbye and says that she can they hang out later. And Naruto says like a date, which she pretty much blushes and says, yeah. Well, this is how she says, yeah. which pretty much this is where Naruto says, "Yeah, sure," and begins to make a grin and pretty much sees Hinata goes. Now, this is where one of the Hyugas was looking for Hinata goes and pretty much tells the main Hyuga branch guy about it. It pretty much tells that Hinata and Naruto, she was at Naruto place. Now, Naruto already got the whole clans and stuff on his thing, so he's pretty much smiling and saying, "So, Hinata, Hinata tied the knot with Naruto. That interesting. He will be a great asset for the Hyuga members, which because well, we're gonna say Naruto has connections that no one doesn't know, but Naruto does, and he pretty much saying that Naruto's not a pretty much bad fit at all. Now, this is where Naruto is heading to class, and this is where we're going to the test, the Shadow Clones test. Now, as original canon, Naruto fails because he's terrible with his chakra control. Even though he tried his best, he's terrible with it, and he begins to look down and saying, "Damn, I failed." Which this is where Mitsuki, Mitsuki goes to Naruto and says that he can help him pass if he can get him the scroll. Which Naruto realized that he ain't no dumb nigga. He pretty much says, "Oh, okay," but he pretty much is not gonna give him the scroll, and pretty much just tell on Mitsuki. Well, yeah, this is where Naruto is pretty much going to grab the scroll. Actually, no. This is where Naruto goes and gets the scroll, and as he's going to get the scroll, this is where Orochimaru is not at the office, but he has snakes, and he can see what Naruto is doing. Because I'm gonna say, like I said, Orochimaru is Hokage, which y'all should really watch the part one. This is just a reboot, but much better. This is where Naruto pretty much is taking the scroll and starts heading to Mitsuki. Now, as he's doing that, oh boy, as he's doing that, this is where he start going, and this is where he has the specific place where Mitsuki says to meet him at. But this is where Naruto starts opening up the scroll and seeing what he can learn. Now, Naruto is very smart. Like his IQ is 300. Yeah, 300 IQ because he has the yandere dojutsu and it makes you extremely intelligent. Like it's like so intelligent. Like it makes you intelligent. It also makes you a psychopath, so you won't feel like any emotions of sadness or anything. And you can shut off your emotions, so you won't feel empathy for the enemy or anything. And also, he's like extremely intelligent, so he knows how to manipulate people and also all that. Now, this is where Naruto is pretty much opens up the scroll and he learns a couple jutsus and he says, this is all good. Now, of course, this is where he sees another thing that's interesting and it's chakra chains. And he begins to say, interesting. I write this down. Now, this is where Naruto writes it down and pretty much puts it in his pocket. Now, as he puts that in his pocket, he pretty much starts to go. Oh, well, pretty much starts to wait for Mitsuki. Now, Mitsuki, this is where Aruka shows up and says, Naruto, what are you doing here in this forest? Which Naruto explains that Mitsuki pretty much says that he can pass if he gives him the scroll. Which Aruka says, wait a minute, if Mitsuki says that, then that means he's a. Which this is where a kunai comes out of nowhere and pretty much hits Aruka in the back. Which Naruto says, Aruka sensei, and begins to run up to him and asks if he's alright. This is where Aruka says Naruto to get out of here, run away while you still can, and this is where Mitsuki comes down from the tree and says, I didn't want to really hurt anyone, but I might have to get rid of you, Aruka. Which he looks at Naruto and pretty much talks to Naruto and trying to make Naruto understand, saying that he's just trying to get the scroll and go to the Hidden Sand Village. Now, I mean, the same village. Which this is where Naruto looks at Mitsuki and says, "I'm gonna beat your ass for what you did to my master." Which pretty much this is where he creates multiple Shadow clones. Now, due to the original canon, Naruto beat that ass with multiple Shadow clone jutsu, and pretty much it was stumping on him too. Like, he was stumping on him with those fresh ninja sandals. So yeah, he was pretty much stumping the yard with his ass. But after that, this is where Mitsuki is pretty much knocked out, incapacitated, knocked the fuck out, and Naruto asks if Iruka's alright, which Iruka saw his skills and pretty much passes Naruto, saying that he's going to be a great ninja. At which Naruto says, I'm going to become more than that. I'm going to become the Hokage. Believe it. Which pretty much Iruka smiles and Naruto is excited. Which Orochimaru is looking with his snakes and pretty much smiling and saying, huh, quite amazing in 3, but I think you can become something more than that. And which Orochimaru makes a smile. Now, the next day, this is where Naruto is about to head to class. Well, no. We're going to say this is a week. Well, yeah, why as well. The next day, this is where the next day, this is where Naruto starts to head to class, and he pretty much is waiting for his instructor. Now, before he waits to the instructor, this is where they start saying the teams. Now, all the teams are the same in the original canon, but I'm just gonna put a little funny event. While they're saying all the teams, this is where they say Team 7, Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha, and pretty much Sakura Haruno. Now, this is where Sakura is saying, "Yes, I get to be on the team with Naruto," which she has an attraction for Sasuke too. So she says Sasuke too, but this is where all the girls are saying, "Ah," and she pretty much sticking her tongue and saying, "Ha, yeah, I wish y'all can be me," which is definitely pissed off. But this is where pretty much Naruto is saying, "I get to have this useless girl on my team. I mean, I guess I can try to help her so she doesn't be a burden." Which Sasuke is pretty much looking at Naruto, and Naruto looks at Sasuke and saying, "You need some? Hmm? You need something?" Which Sasuke looks away and says, "Nothing, loser." Which Naruto looks at Sasuke and says, "You're calling me a loser." And they both start laughing a little bit. Which Sasuke has a little bit of feelings for Naruto because, like I said, the young dairy dojutsu, so it's quite powerful, and it works on all genders, including the motherfucking snake gender. But hey, but if y'all get what I'm saying, but pretty much, this is where they head up and wait for the instructor, and this is where Kakashi shows up, and he looks at the whole team, including Naruto, and he gets caught under Naruto's um hypnotized, and he begins to blush a little bit, but he begins to does a cough and said, "This is what I think of y'all. This is what I think of y'all. Think of my team right now, or think of y'all boring." Which Naruto says, "Boring? How am I boring?" Which this is where Kakashi does a little smile that says, "Well, maybe y'all can change my mind. Meet me up on the rooftop so y'all can tell me about y'all." Now everything goes as the same, including Naruto, and pretty much Kakashi tells him to meet tomorrow for the bell test. Don't eat or you're gonna puke. Which everybody agrees and starts heading on their own ways. Now this is where Sakura is trying to ask Naruto out for Robin, which Naruto says that he has to go train, but they can do it some other time, which she blushed a little bit and says okay, and starts running home with excitement. Now, this is where Naruto is pretty much about to head home until Orochimaru appears and pretty much asks to meet him somewhere. Now, this is where Naruto goes to Orochimaru at this specific location and pretty much starts to talk with Orochimaru. Orochimaru begins to offer Naruto to become more stronger and have better chakra control, and also to have multiple power, like some ultimate power and much stronger power. Which this is where Naruto looks at Orochimaru and says, "So you can make me strong?" Which pretty much Orochimaru says yes. Which this is where Naruto agrees because Naruto is a little bit more power thirsty, power hungry than original canon, and pretty much goes with Orochimaru. Now this is where Orochimaru pretty much takes him to the laboratory and says that he's gonna need him to remove his clothes Well, he's going to need him to be pretty much knocked out for this operation, which Naruto agrees and pretty much gets bit in the neck. Now, Orochimaru gives Naruto the curse mark because he wants Naruto to also be a part of the sound 4. So this is where he bites Naruto in the neck and inject him with a serum to also knock him out, to make sure he doesn't wake up anytime soon. Now, this is where he takes off Naruto's clothes and begins to put him in a tube. Now, he pretty much has all these like things hooked up to him and stuff, and he begins to start putting in all multiple DNAs of all clans and stuff. Like the Hyuga, like the Hyuga, um the Hyuga, Uchiha, Senju DNA, some Uzumaki DNA. Also, well, a little bit like to he pretty much put a little bit more better Uzumaki DNA traits in. Like he puts in a lot of traits that he got from multiple clans around the world, you could say, and also giving him some good chakra natures, like some good chakra natures, like lightning, water, earth, like the fire. Like he's being buff right now. He's being that good guy, that good black nigga, you could say. Now, pretty much after that, this is where Naruto wakes back up and he's pretty much um looking around and he begins to feel the power coursing through him and feels the curse mark on his neck saying, ah. Now, this is where Naruto pretty much looks at Orochimaru, and Orochimaru says the operation was a success, which Orochimaru asks Naruto will he want to begin his training to test out his new abilities and stuff, which Naruto smiles and says yeah, which he pretty much introduced Naruto to the sound 4, which the sound 4 looks at Naruto, and Naruto looks at the sound 4 and says, yo, which they all begins to start a little bit blushing, saying, and all introducing themselves and stuff, including Kamaru. I forgot his name, but the one with the bone kinky kid guy. But pretty much, he looks at Naruto and begins to says, "I'm the leader of the Sound Four," which Naruto says, "Nice to meet you. I'll be glad to train with you." Which he begins to a little bit blush and says, "Yeah, pleasure to train with you too." Now, this is where Naruto begins to start training with them and stuff. And he begins to start creating a little bit more better bond with them and understanding them more and like how they got taken in by Orochimaru and stuff and they begin to spill the beans that Orochimaru is also Hokage a lord in the Sound Village, the Hidden Sound Village, which Naruto is getting a lot of information that he's not supposed to know, but he's learning. He's pretty much getting it all without him trying to ask him anything. And he pretty much creates a good bond with them, including with the girl, if you know what I mean. But this is where pretty much Naruto goes back home after the training and begins to look in the mirror, and he begins to realize that his eyes they are pretty much transforming, and he begins to close his eyes and saying, "Ah, my eyes," and he begins to open them again, and he has a unique Renegon. It's pretty much like a Renegon, but it's a little bit like kind of like how can I say? It's kind of like this, but it's like red with the hypnotizing thing. But pretty much this is where um Naruto is pretty much looking and saying, "Huh, weird." And he looks at his nails, and his nails is black, and his also he looks down, and his toenails is black too, and he says, "Huh, I hope this is not permanently," which it is permanently. Now the next day, this is where Naruto wakes up and starts heading to the training field to meet up with his team. Now Sasuke immediately noticed that he sees that Naruto has a different, unique eyes, but he doesn't mind too much attention of it. And Sakura also knows too, but they don't mind much attention to it too. Now, this is where Kakashi comes late as original canon, which this is where Naruto says, man, which Kakashi says sorry he's late, he got lost in the way of life, which Naruto smiles and says it's okay, it's perfectly fine with him, as long as they can continue doing, they can just do this test, training test, or this bell test, which Kakashi says, alright, let's get started. Now, this is where Kakashi explains the bell test. It pretty much says that one of them will be sent back, which they all three will freak out, but Naruto's completely fine because he knows that he knows the true bell test, and he also knows another way to do the bell test, but he pretty much don't say anything. Now, this is where Kakashi says, three, two, one, go, and they all start scattering. Now, this is where Naruto sends out a clone to pretty much distract Kakashi. Now, this is where Naruto meets up with Sasuke and pretty much tells Sasuke the whole plan, and it's about teamwork. And also, he goes find Sakura and explains the whole situation to Sakura too, which they have a plan and they pretty much nod on it. Now, this is where Naruto pretty much is looking at his clone, and pretty much his clone is giving Kakashi a little bit of the work right now. Like, the clone is pretty much using unique fighting styles and also using bone manipulation. Um, yeah, bone manipulation and hardening his skin. So every time Kakashi punches Naruto, he's punching. He feel like he's punching like something that's metal or like something that's hard as a bone, and he's like saying, "Why is it so hard?" And Naruto's pretty much Naruto clone is like like half wood, half bone. So it's like he's not doing anything to that clone at all. This is where Naruto dispersed the clone. Well, pretty much dispersed the clone, and pretty much this is where Naruto does the hand salute and says fire style, fireball jutsu, and shoots out a fireball at Kakashi, which Sasuke is a little bit shocked, but he pretty much shoots a fireball with Naruto too, to combine the fireball to make it huge. This is where, of course, Kakashi makes a mud wall and blocks it, barely just blocking it, and he gets a little burn on him. This is where Sakura comes in and pretty much comes from underground and holds Kakashi by the feet, which Kakashi forgot that Sakura was even there and say, crap, I forgot about her. And this is where Naruto pretty much runs with great speed, grabbing the bells and pretty much kicking Kakashi back. And this is where Naruto grabs the two bells and says, so did we pass up using teamwork? Which Kakashi pretty much smiles and says, yeah, I passed. Which everybody's excited. Now, we're going to say after that, this is where Naruto begins to start heading home. Now, this is where Naruto's sex drive is getting more bigger, and this is where I'm going to say Sakura comes to Naruto's house to knock on his door. Now, this is where Naruto pretty much is um, breathing heavily and looks at Sakura, and he pretty much saying that he needs her for a bit and brings her inside. Now, this is the 18SS, and this is where Naruto begins to have sex with Sakura. Now, this is where he's doing Sakura and stuff, and this is where Hinata comes into, opens up the door because the door is unlocked, and she begins to hear moaning and stuff. This is where, as she's coming in, she says, Naruto, where are you? Which, this is where he sees Naruto doing Sakura. Now, this is where she's shocked and saying, Naruto, what are you doing? Which, Naruto looks at Hinata and says, do you want to join in? Or do you just want to stand there? Which pretty much Hinata begins to start taking off her clothes and joins in, and it becomes a threesome. Now Naruto is pretty much eating one out, doing the other one, and switch to in and out. And this is where he stacks on, have one on top and one on bottom, and he starts doing both of them. This is where he nuts in both of them, and he's pretty much laying in the bed with both of them. Now, next day, this is where Naruto is pretty much getting dressed and stuff, and Sakura and Hinata is getting dressed, and Hinata leaves the house, and Sakura is pretty much um still eating her breakfast because Naruto made some breakfast for them because he feels a little bit bad, a little bit, tiny bit, only a tiny bit, but he begins to walk out with Sakura and head to the team with Sasuke. Now, this is where Kakashi begins to say that they're going to start doing missions. And Naruto smiles and says, alright. Now, this is part 1 and 2 of what if Naruto was black and had a yandere dojutsu. If you like, leave like, do all that stuff and all that. But I'm Keyshawn Achia. Thanks for watching and peace out. And also, like I said, I need someone to be my calendar or be my schedule guy. So if you volunteer to become a schedule guy and remind me to do some goddamn videos, then I will gladly give you a shout out. I will shout you out in every single video for being my schedule person to help me schedule my days and get me started of doing videos. So I won't be like leaving for like 2 months or 2 weeks. But other than that, I'm Keyshawn Chia. Thanks for watching and peace out.
It looks like you lost another one.